Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. I'm coming to you from Spokane, Washington, which is located about 300 miles east of Seattle, and our hardiness zone here ranges between 5B and 6A. Are you planning to grow a garden for the first time this year, or are you still pretty new to gardening and you maybe had some vegetable struggle last year? Well, the most important thing you need to know is that vegetable plants need a lot of sun in order to grow and produce well. Typically, if you want to grow things like tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, squash, pumpkins, those types of things, they need a good 6 hours of sunlight a day. But I realize that not everybody has a nice, bright, sunny spot like I do. And I wanted to tell you that there are different types of vegetable crops that will tolerate some shade and less amount of sun during the day. And I also have some alternatives for you so that you can still grow things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, and so on. So here are the types of crops you can grow in an area that gets 3 hours of sunlight or more. Beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, celery, chard, kale, kohlrabi, leeks, lettuce, pak choi, scallions, spinach, and turnips. So what if your garden space doesn't get a whole lot of sunlight? Here are some alternatives to help you be successful. Now, as you're choosing a spot for your new garden, it's important to go outside at a few different times of the day to see how the sun moves through the area. Are there trees nearby that would cast a lot of shade, or maybe some type of a structure that would cast some shade? Because you do want to pick the sunniest spot that you've got. When you're setting up a new garden, it's a good idea to have your rows go north-south. And the idea behind that is that you don't want crops shading their neighbors as the sun is moving across the sky. Now you'll notice I said north-south, and yet I'm standing in our raised bed garden where the beds go east-west. Whoops! What happened was we set up this garden way back in the early 90s, and at that time we didn't know anything about the north-south rule. So we put everything east-west, and the good news is that we've got 4-foot aisles and 3-foot pathways, so there really hasn't been a problem with plants shading their neighbors. But if you're starting fresh, that's what I recommend, is north-south orientation, because you want your crops to get as much sunlight during the day as possible. Do you have an area in your yard somewhere that has a trellis or an arbor or an arch? You can grow vining types of vegetables where they'll be able to grow up and into the sunlight. That's a possibility. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you've probably seen this before. This is a cattle panel arch. It's made from 2 cattle panels, and we use it mostly for growing small types of winter squash on. You could also use it for growing pole beans, peas, that type of thing. And again, it's getting them up into the sun. If you can put your garden spot next to a light colored wall, such as a garage wall or a house wall, that is going to reflect more light into the area. So that is an option. Do you have a flower bed that gets a lot of sun? Well, you can grow veggies with the flowers. In this photo, you can see I'm growing artichokes with sedum, zinnias, and daylilies. It really looks cool. Do you have a sunny patio, deck, porch, or balcony? Get some containers and you can grow your veggies in them. There are all sorts of containers that would work well. And the one thing with containers that you need to know is that they do tend to dry out more quickly. So you want to keep an eye on the soil to make sure it's always lightly moist. There are some containers that are called self-watering, and that's where they have a water reservoir in the bottom of the pot below where you plant your veggies. So that is definitely an option and something you should keep an eye out for. Now, I realize that today's video is a little shorter than usual, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that there are ways to grow a garden even if you haven't got a super sunny spot. So I hope you will take this to heart. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody. Happy gardening.